So I'm going to tell you the truth about Republicans. Republicans who support Donald Trump are MAGAs. There is no difference.
No
The
difference.
MAGA cap is the new Klan hood. There are many people who don't understand today that they are part of racist groups. They should know that, and we should tell them freely. So we have to stop whispering while they are being loud. And I am all about making sure that people know. I know they don't want to admit it, they don't want to talk about it, but Republicans hate more than anything being called racist. And we need to help those who don't understand
Right.
that they are. That is my point.
That's your point. And then women, like I said, when we talk about getting loud, right? That we're whispering, we have to get loud and then make sure that women who are voting for this sort of come to grips with it in some way. They need to be told. I mean, how could you vote for this against your daughter, against your rights? You see what's happening. And you know what the scary part is when I'm thinking about all this stuff that's going on. Like we woke up Saturday, the libraries, the Voice of America, the museums, the Arlington Cemetery being stripped of our Black veterans history and women. And it feels like you're being stripped down and it's a time for the cavity search here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
right?
So we're literally being erased.
Yes.
And so, and what I wonder is how Republican women can be okay with that. So just think about this for a moment. So you are half of this country, more than half of this country, through the SAVE Act and many other things. They are literally telling you that your voice doesn't matter, that you should not even have a
Right.
vote. And you are okay with giving that away. And so for your daughters, your nieces, your mothers, your grandmothers, you are telling them, you are making the decision that they don't matter. Other women doing this to women. That
No.
is absurd.
It is. Well, it's part of, I think when you get into this authoritarian shit, it is part of the structure, right? You sort of eat yourself and your kids. I mean, it's awful. I really, like I said, when I saw this happening, I just, how much worse can it get? And then I'm like, worse, because women, this whole reproductive rights thing is coming, right? And the religion thing is coming. So what we need to do is when we see this capitulation, from our party, from the Senate side, that's over. The Rebel Alliance will not tolerate it.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah, I am usually sort of sometimes conservative in my thinking about,
Right,
primarying people,
right.
let's really try to do the right thing. But this time in my gut, I knew that we should not sign on to that CR. And I knew it because it was important whether you did it for 5 days or 10 days to be able to have the megaphone, to have that megaphone and tell people what was happening. This is another example of them saying, "Oh, well, Trump will use this. Oh, Trump will say that Democrats caused the shutdown."
Right.
And that's because he was going to speak loud while we whispered. And we missed our opportunity to be loud while people were paying attention because that was going to get everybody's attention. And we missed that moment yet again.
Well,
And we are pissed.
I think too, like you, man, I saw both sides of this argument from Rachel Bidikofer, who's going to be on April 11th, by the way,
Yay.
for my birthday. Well, let's see if she's, that she said, she goes, I got your presents. I'm so excited for that. But I really read her argument and I was convinced also reading that, like I agreed with her. She really laid out what she thought would happen with the government shutdown, meaning that there would be a complete takeover. I mean, she laid out a really good argument. Okay. Then the other one was the connection. I read the other side of it. Well, Amy Siskind talked about it. She'll be on the show on Friday. Yes. She laid out a really great argument why we shouldn't have done it. We've all of a sudden now, he's just running right over Congress and all the power he needs is delivered. So either side, I mean, look, you're looking at this bad thing. I think the problem for me is how they're fighting more than it's sort of how you lose or how you win, or both sides were we need to be prepared for both sides of whatever would happen. So if we should have had a plan a long time ago, if the government shuts down, this is what we do. If this happens, we don't have any plan. And that's the part, watching the fight. And then the retreat was the hard part. Like, let me watch you fight and let's go in together. And we did. We went down there to fight with them. That's what they were showing us. And then they retreated. And that's the part that why we didn't do well, even though we kept the government open. That fight and the retreat is the story.
Exactly. So two things could have happened here. There was no reason why one plan needed to work
Right,
because
exactly.
you could have shut down or said no. It could be 5 days and you could stop before anything happened, but you would have had the megaphone for that
Right.
time. And so that's one. So you could do that. And
Because they
then
had the plan. They had the
when you
plan, by the way.
signed on, exactly and if you decided that you were going to be a yes, you could say, here's why I'm a yes, or here's why we came back to the table.
That's right.
There was just no plan at all. And all of the folks in the grassroots, all of the folks who said, what in the world is happening here? We would have seen and we would have understood. All I was asking for was a moment of clarity where you had an opportunity to be loud and to stop whispering.
Yeah, we need to do that because it's the wake up call. So I'm really excited that that's what we are really going to work on when we talk about this Friday for the show. Dahlia Lithwick, I
Yep.
love her, lawyer, senator, senior editor at Slate. Just follow her in Amicus Brief. And when we talk about the courts and what's happening, that is huge as well. And that's the next fight. I mean, he's taken over Congress, let's just say. Now it's the fight in the courts because they're defying the court. This is going to go to the Supreme Court, and this we'll see if it's the last house that goes, right?
Yeah,
And yeah,
I think the other thing is like this weekend with a cemetery where
mhm,
removing all Black veterans and female veterans. At some point, people have to sort of wake up to see what is happening here, where people again are being erased. I think that is critical. Another
right,
thing that should be loud so that people can see, wait a minute, it is everyday Americans, it is all Americans who are starting to be impacted. You are starting to be erased. Women, people of
right.
color, Black people, veterans who are women, you are being erased. Who is next? And so I'm hoping that this will cause people to sort of wake up and say, oh, something's happening here, since we did miss the moment with the CR.
Well, yeah, and all these federal workers, and last night ran into a lot of people who lost their jobs. I mean, what confidence is that? You want to say, gosh, my team is fighting for me. And I don't want to make it about, like I like what Amy Siskind said when she was writing about this, the activist, feminist, and author of the weekly list that's coming on this Friday, is that let's just be quite clear. Republicans are responsible for this chaos and allowing this lunatic to get in there. And people voted for this. There's these two hard situations, but Republicans could have stopped this guy a long time ago. And they did not. And here we are now in the minority trying to fight this, but we do want to bring the fight and we have to keep at it and we have to, like you said, be loud. And there's also different ways to show that, and it doesn't always have to be protesting. We will have an artist on, Shannon Curtis, on Friday,
Mhm.
using music in different kind of ways to rebel or talk about it or move through it or bring people together around it. And that's what we need to do. Loud communication. And we'll talk about your wake up call strategy on Friday, going door to door, our street fighting plan.
That's right. That's right. So
There's the
remember,
street fighter.
there's a time to have sympathy, there's a time to have empathy, and there's a time to spit fire. And we are at the point now where we have to spit a little bit of fire loud.
I'm ready to spit. Let's go.